Welcome to the raw and uncensored Ambitchious podcast. During our time here together, I will be instilling all of the strength, power, and determination you will need to use the very stones thrown at you to build your ultimate empire. We will redefine the word bitch from the derogatory to the acronym being in total control of herself. So let's adjust our crowns and prepare to live life ambitiously.
Yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on today's episode of the Ambitchious podcast, we have for round 2, my soul sister, amazing friend, and mentorship client, Theresa Caliri. And this is a very different podcast from the last one. First of all, we were sober as judges, so there's one big difference this time around. And secondly, she's going to be talking all about her experience with our flagship protocol. It's called A28P. That's 28 days to become your most ambitious self, which is now totally part of the Ambitchious app. So she's going to be talking all about her experience with this. It's such an uplifting podcast because not only is Theresa shredded, she's a hot mama, but she has taught herself how to become a real runner, which I think is incredible. She has become a yoga instructor and started a business, all from the confidence and the determination and the self-esteem and self-worth that she has gained through proving to herself that she can do hard things, one being the A28P protocol. I know you guys are going to find so much value in this podcast, and Theresa comes in a way about being a mom and like her actual experience with being a mom and doing A28P. So even if you're not a mom, this is going to resonate deeply with you, I promise. So without further ado, let's get into it with my guest, Theresa Caliri. Theresa, I am so grateful and excited for you to be on the podcast for the second time. Yay. Thank you for being here. I know. I was talking to Amanda Greco on last week's podcast, and I was like, you're the first person who's been on here twice. The first podcast was her talking about her business and coaching and all that stuff, and just like you did. And now you're back on the podcast for your second debut to talk about your experience with A28P from your perspective, which is a very different perspective to a lot of my clients. So I'm really super grateful that you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Anytime. So I know that before we had planned to be on the podcast today, I know that we had talked about you coming on and talking about your experience, because I think that your experience is very different from so many other women's experiences, just being part of Ambitchious and doing A28P, and how that opened us all these other doors for like your creativity and your family and healing and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited to get raw and real today about this.
Absolutely. Me too.
Yay. So, okay, let's just take the listeners back. Not too far back, like, because everybody already knows our story, how we've been friends forever. And
absolutely.
Last on the time on the podcast, I was fucking hammered.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I was going to say they had a different view of us last time.
We're sober Sally's today. It is 1:47 in the afternoon when we're recording this. So unless, like, Theresa, you're not telling me something, we haven't been drinking today. Promise?
I promise. I have to be responsible today.
We have to be responsible. I had lots of copious amounts of coffee. I had a lot of water, but no red wine.
Nope.
Okay, good. So
or
we're
dark
sober.
Drinks.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, stuff it down with brown, like I always say. Stuff it down with brown. So let's go back to when you first came to Kripalu. God, is this like 4 years now?
Yeah. Yeah, so because Henry was going to be, he was 6 months old.
Oh my God, that's wild. So you came to Kripalu, which is in the Berkshire Mountains in Massachusetts. It's like a yoga kind of spiritual retreat. And I was hired to do a Live Your Best Life weekend there for Ambitchious. And you kind of just broke out of your comfort zone. You just had a baby. You weren't feeling so fresh. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You can talk about that in a second. You weren't feeling so fresh, and you came to Kripalu, even though, if I remember clearly, you almost wanted to not come, right?
Oh yeah. I was researching how to, like, what kind of refunds I could get if I didn't go.
Shut the fuck up.
I was so nervous because I was going by myself. I was 6 months postpartum. And my husband's like, no, you need this. You need to go. You need this for yourself.
You were like pumping in the room, right?
Yes. Yes.
I remember that. I remember this.
I was pumping, I was storing, I was getting everything ready for him for when I got home.
Wow, dude. So you were like, okay, I don't want to do this. What do you think was the most trepidatious feeling that you felt like? What was really kind of like the crux that was like holding you back from stepping into that?
Well, I had no idea what to expect. And it's that whole aspect of that imposter syndrome. Like, why should I be going to this? What is this? Why do I deserve to go? Wow. And as a mom, I mean, I'm sure a lot of new moms feel that too. Like, I should be home with my children. I should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing for myself right now. And, my husband really pushed me to go and take care of myself. And that was a huge help for me, because when he was there to support me, that I knew that it was the right thing to do.
Oh my gosh. So you were like, and it's funny because a lot of women will reach out to me and they're like, I want to come to Ambitchious, or I want to do this with you, or I want to do that with you. And I'm just afraid to do it alone. So, and I know that you're one of the strongest women I know. And I mean that. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You know, I don't do that shit. You are one of the strongest women I know. So for you to be afraid to come and do that, like that to me speaks volumes, because you are very strong. You're not the average, like everyday mom. Like you're like, to me, you're a superwoman. And for you to be afraid, that just goes to show me how many women out there in Ambitchious land who are like right on the cusp of making a huge change in their lives, but they're scared because, like what you said, like I should be home taking care of my children. This is going to cost me money. It's going to take time away from, my family and all these things. But let's talk about where you were at mentally, physically, emotionally when you were coming to Kripalu, because I think that that's a huge part of your story as well.
Actually, at that point, I was, 6 months postpartum. So I went through a little bit of the postpartum depression with Henry. Yes. I went through a bigger one with my daughter that we got into with the last podcast.
Yes.
But still, like that's, you have that deep urge to want to stay with your children and protect your children. And I knew that this isn't who I was. And I knew that I needed to like almost find myself again. So listening to your podcast and then hearing about Kripalu, I knew that I needed to be there. Like that's where I needed to be for the weekend. And in the long run, I mean, Henry, now that he's almost 5 years old, has no clue that I was away for that weekend.
Oh, right.
Even when I do go away for a weekend, or like a day when I go with like friends somewhere, or like a girls' weekend away, I'll come home and they're very excited to see me. But in the grand scheme of things, now when I look back, they have no clue that I'm away for that long.
They don't really care.
No.
And like children are in time warps. They don't understand time. They're almost like puppies. That's what my opinion is. Like, dogs are like I'll leave Pearl at home and she'll be like, hey, bitch, where you been? But I don't know how long I've been sitting here and hanging out. You know what I mean? And I think that kids are the same way. So we as the mothers are like, oh my God, what if this traumatizes my child? And the truth of the matter is it won't, right?
This half the time I leave and I'll go somewhere and the kids will be like, oh, you were gone? I'm like, yes, I was out of the house for a good 5 hours and you had no idea.
That is so freaking funny. So when you came to Kripalu and you had this experience, what do you think was the catalyzer that was like, okay, I want more of this. I really have to step into my power and remember who the fuck I am. Like, what do you think really was the catalyzer?
The death meditation.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did it again this year with you, like on our 3-year anniversary.
Yeah, at Ambitchious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was still the same result. I mean, back then when I was doing the death meditation, I didn't really know Henry as well. And now it was a completely different journal entry. And the death meditation made me realize this is what I need to work on. I need to know who I am. I need to reach out to my children. I need to focus on them. I need to focus on my family. I need to focus on things that are around me right now. So that was really the one that pushed me forward and over the edge to continue.
That has been like a theme on the Ambitchious podcast lately. Like everybody that I've had on is like, the time that it changed my life was death meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I still do death meditation. It's my own creation and I still get fucked up from it.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that everything else, because I went there not understanding about meditation and going there for that weekend really cleared it up because you went over all the different types of meditation and how to do it. And, it made it less scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was helpful.
And I think that there's another thing too, is like a mom, like let's just say I don't know you, you're a mom, right? And you've never done meditation in your life, which you didn't really up till you started. I mean, you probably did like some relaxation techniques and things like that, but to like really get into the nitty gritty of like real guided shadow work type meditation. And we also did inner child healing that weekend too, didn't we?
No, we didn't do inner child. No, not yet.
You did that at
that was when we did A28. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get into that in a second. You're like, Katie, you can't fuck me up that hard. I think the second year of Kripalu, I did both, and I think people were like ready for the funny farm after they had left Kripalu. But that's what I want. I want to shake people out of their doldrums, their hypnotic rhythm by doing these like really hard things. And for you, it was the death meditation. So after Kripalu wrapped, you were like, okay, I know that I have a lot of work to do. And I'm not only going to do this work for myself, but I'm going to heal my ancestry. I'm going to heal my children. I'm going to like be the best mom that I could be, which and you have a lot of mom friends, I'm sure. I know that you do. A lot of moms think like when my kids graduate high school, then I'll work on myself. Right? You hear this all the time. It's like when they get into kindergarten, then they get into middle school, then they're in high school. And then it's like, when my kid gets married and leaves the house or whatever the frig it is. And the bottom line is like, we can't wait that long. We have to work on ourselves now so that we can be the best in this moment. And I think you are so wonderful about that message to moms because I see you on your Instagram and I see you on your social media with Little Intentions. And I always know that that's like the messaging that you're bringing, which makes me so happy. Yeah. Do you feel like that's a thing that plagues moms? Like they're just like, they are always making kind of like these excuses because they don't want to take time for themselves?
It's funny because that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. That it's like, there's so many people that it's like, they think it has to be all in. And there has to be a right time. And there's never a right time to do it. The right time is to now. And back when I had my children, it's my morning routines were wake up, grab some tea, sit down, pump, drink my tea, watch the news, then get showered and dressed. Now it's not the same thing, but that was, you have a time and place for what you have to accomplish at that time. I mean, your goals are going to be different from when your children are babies to when they're in elementary school to when they're in middle school, high school, and your routine's never going to stay the same. And I guess that's the challenge. Because I've even been struggling with that now. Because a couple of years ago, we were in lockdown with, COVID, and I was able to do so much and get so much done. And then I went back to school, and now that school is finally like back to a normal, almost normal schedule. I should say normal, and I have quotation marks going. Normal schedule. Nothing about it is normal. Right. But I tend to beat myself up because my routines in the morning aren't the same. And I have to remind myself it's not going to be the same. They're going to be different, and they're going to be what I desire, what I require, not what someone else is telling me what I need to do.
That's right. Because I could tell you, like, say, we're over on the Ambitchious app and I'm like, okay, guys, today we're going to talk about our ambituals, which are our morning rituals. We're going to talk about our bitch list. We're going to talk about our perfect day. But all those things for you, Theresa, when I first started working with you 4 years ago, is not going to be the same things that you desire in this season of your life 4 years later.
Absolutely.
And we as moms have to like let that go. We really, truly do. I mean, I don't have children like you. I have a stepdaughter who I raised pretty much since she was 13 years old. And I used to have to bring her because she was in private school. So I would have to bring her every morning and pick her up every day before she got her license to school. And so like my schedule when I was like the taxi for her is much different from her now, who's 25 years old and she's living on her own in an apartment and she has her own job and her own life. But, and guess what? Henry's going to be 25 years old someday. Yeah. Like the kids they're going to get older. So it's like your routine now is not going to be your routine 10, 15, 20 years from now. And I think that we get so stuck as women in like, but this is the way that it used to be. And this is the way that it has to be. And it's like, it's not
100%. And that's like, it's, some moms get stuck when they first with newborns, they get stuck with the, like, I'm never going to get back. And there's such a social push on you have to get back to your pre-pregnancy weight, pre-pregnancy look. Like, I hate that.
That is so toxic.
Yes. And there's great influences that are like, this is what you can do. This is how you can do it. This is what I look like after 6 months or 6 weeks after I've had a baby. And it's like, you're not going to be the same. Like your journey is going to be different, and it's going to be your journey. And I think so many people get stuck in that mindset, in that time warp of like, this is what it's going to be like for the next how many years. And it's not. I mean, I was talking to my husband, and we were saying how we would go to like Bye Bye Baby and Babies R Us and all these other stores. And I'm like, the amount of time that we actually like in our lifetime spent there is so small. And now we don't even need to be in those that store, that section any longer.
Right.
And it's crazy because you can't see, what do they say, that you can't see the valley through the woods.
Yeah.
Because it seems so thick that you're stuck in it for so long, but you're really not.
Absolutely.
And then you start to find that groove. And that's the thing, is you have to find your groove, the groove that works for you the best.
And you have to be flexible because it's always changing. It's always in flux. It's always in flow. And if you're too rigid, that's when these moms have the like mommy meltdowns.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you ever get yourself to that point?
Oh, I can't count how many times I've had a mommy meltdown. There's been a couple and honestly with my kids, the one thing that I love that I've gone through with you is that I'm very open with them about what I'm doing.
Which is huge.
Yeah. And like, even when I do have a meltdown, I kind of, we let ourselves go a little bit, and then we come back and we discuss it and we talk about it and we figure out how we can handle it. My go-to, I heard this from someone one time, is that I always say, I am the first time mom of a 10-year-old, because my oldest is 10. You know, I've never done this before, and we're both learning together. I'm the first time mom of 3 children. Like, I've never had 3 children at this age. So we're working through this. So I just got
chills. You saying that, it's just so powerful, right? Like we think, and I think that that's another pressure that is put on women. That's why I did create the app, and I did create these programs for women like you to share with other women and be like, yo, I have 3 kids. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. No one gave me a user's manual. Like, I am learning and I'm trying my best, and we're learning and we're growing together. And like, how beautiful is that? Yeah.
It's so great, because that now I can communicate with other moms, and we can talk about and share what we're going through, and there's no judgment.
Ugh, yes. That's the thing too, because when you're on social media, like let's just say for Instagram, for example, and you follow like these mommy type of Instagram accounts, and it's like all their children are in white clothes, and the house is white, and everything is white, and their food is like perfect shaped heart carrot sticks and shit like that. It's aesthetically beautiful, but like no one is living like that. And the people who are living like that, it's fake. And I'm sorry, it's for social media. And I think that puts so much pressure on like real moms, because they feel like they have to like spit out a baby, lose the fucking baby weight in 3 weeks, make perfect sandwiches that are shaped of Mickey Mouse, make pancakes that are shaped of Mickey Mouse every day. All the kids are perfectly dressed. Everything is perfect. You're perfect. Your hair is perfect. Everything is perfect. It's
and hold down a full-time job. Yeah.
Oh, BTW, work 50, 60 hours a week and cook all the meals and like still give your husband a blowjob once in a while. Like, come on now. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, Theresa.
Tell me about it.
Right?
Tell me about it. Yeah, I look at like some of the things that I love watching, like the different reels where it's like one mom is making all these, like cutting the crust off and doing things, and the other mom's like taking a Crustable and shoving it in the lunchbox.
Whatever it takes to work. But guess what? Kids fucking love Crustables. Or whatever the hell they're called. I don't know. I've never had one. I heard they're delicious though.
Oh yeah, it's like peanut butter and jelly, just without the crust.
Yum.
So why make it when someone else can?
Damn freaking Skippy. I hear you. But the thing is like there's moms out there that would shame a mom for doing that.
Yeah. And
it's
so sad.
It's so sad.
Because you have no idea of the other struggles that those moms are going through.
100%.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is, there's nobody has the right to judge whatever they see, whatever they're hearing.
Yes, absolutely. So when you did Kripalu, you joined and we started you joined Ambitchious, you started working with me.
Yes.
How long between Kripalu and working with me did you jump into the Ambitchious and 28-day protocol?
So we started working because we did January. So then you had like a different protocol. I think it was a test run of
yes. You guys were like my
28P.
beta testers.
Yeah. So you were doing, you were given
pigs.
back then you were giving individual meal plans too.
Yes.
So we had worked a little bit on that. So to get me onto a good healthy diet, getting into the meditation and the journaling and things like that. And that was really where my focus was meditation and journaling. And then the eating was just kind of going into it, getting into it.
Yes.
So I didn't start A28P until a year later.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you were we were just doing all that for about a year. And then I was like, okay, hey, I have this program. I've done it myself. It's fucking mind blowing. Do it. That was like in probably January the following year.
Yeah. January of 2020.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep.
Before the world changed forever. Right.
I know, but that helped me get through. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I think it helped hundreds of women during that time get through because that's what we were really focusing on. Because I was like, if we can't control what's going on in the world, but being ambitious is about radical responsibility and controlling what you can control, which is like what goes in your mouth, if you're fasting, your meditation, your breath work, your sound healing, like all the things that I teach in A28P, perfect day, cloaking, cord cutting, death meditation, inner child healing, all the shadow work, all the stuff. Right. So do you remember your first month of doing A28P? Like, do you remember like that whole, the struggle? Was it real?
I remember the week before, like shitting my pants saying, what the hell am I getting myself into? But I also remember reading it over with John, and he was like, if this is what you want to do, I'll support you. And that was another, again, having the support system that
Huge.
He knew that I was doing this for me, for us. And so I was like, all right, I got to go buy all this stuff. Because back then it was like you had everything laid out, what meals we were having every day.
Yes.
And just when I saw 48-hour fast to start it off, I lost it.
I'm like, bitch, you're not going to eat and we don't do it that way anymore. Actually, we don't start with a 48-hour fast anymore.
Right.
Everything is different. We don't have 72-hour fasts in A28P anymore either. We changed the whole program now. I don't know if you've done the new program.
I'm waiting to do it as soon as it comes out now.
Yeah.
In the new app.
So it just launched today. So you should go after, I know, when you're at home living your best life because you're off today. God bless you, Theresa. You have a day off to actually, hang out and do your own thing. But when you go into the app and you check out the new A28P, I think you're going to be blown away, like the evolution of it, because it's just so elevated.
Well, talking to some of the ladies at Bitchapalooza that did it and that have done the past one as well, it was, they just said there was so much more to gain, even though they knew what they were doing before. The reason I didn't do it back then was because I was doing my running and I was doing my training for half marathons. So again, my fear got over me because I was like, I can't do the fasting and things like that because I was doing the training. Yeah. And we had talked about that as well. And I said, when I'm not training and when I'm not doing all this stuff, I'll do it. So
definitely,
that's what I'm waiting for.
I started today. Like it's just where if you guys are listening to this, we're recording on March 20th, the spring equinox. So this spring equinox time is such a great time to do these like challenges where it's like getting rid of all the things that no longer serve you, purging, detoxifying, cleansing. So this is a great way just to like, start fasting again, eating really therapeutically, doing digital detoxes and doing like all the shadow work, because the new A28P that it's not that different from what you did. It's still the same principles, but Kim and I really focused on making it about the spiritual, energetic, emotional healing aspects more than anything else. And I've always talked about it being that way. And women are always like, yeah, it's a healing protocol. And then they get so obsessed with the weight loss.
They do. Because I'll tell you, that's what you can grab onto at the beginning is the weight loss. But the spirituality is what you get in the long run.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
Even now, like it's it's just being able to get into that mindset and having that balance and knowing when my body feels off, not because of food, but because of where my mind is and where my energy field is that's what I've taken out of the most, I think, from A28.
I want to talk about that. So I'm really interested on like all the different aspects of A28P and like what really took you to the next level. So let's just start like with the actual physical 3-dimensional shit, which is like the fasting, the food, the movement, and like the release of toxic waste that is on your body. Let's talk about that first. So when you first started A28P, like where were you at physically, and like how did you end up when you actually finished?
So I was, I believe I was at my highest from after having it was in the middle of coming down because we had started working that whole year on the basis of it. And so I was about 150 at the beginning of starting all of this, weight wise. And I thought it was going to be very difficult, the meals and the eating, but the way you balance it out with the proteins and all the vegetables and the fats and things, it's actually, that worked really well for me. I know like some people were afraid to do it. I mean, granted, I was afraid too, but when I was eating the food and eating the right amount of everything, and I was feeling full, I was feeling good, that I was able to eat this and feel satisfied, not feel hunger pains afterward. And I think it's just that, I think it's the bored eating of being home. You know, you just try to pick and eat, but when you have something that you're trying to get through, and at the beginning too, you had a lot of challenges where it's like, okay, if you meet this, then, and I'm so competitive that I'm like, bitch, I'm going to win this.
Oh yeah. I used to give her all these crazy prizes and stuff.
Yeah. So for week things or just the whole month overall. And so I think that was, of course, like the competitive side of me came out for those. Yes. But in all honesty, like I was eating what you had said, the amounts that you said, like so much protein, so much fats, and then the vegetables. My plate was always full and I was always full. Sometimes I couldn't even finish what was on my plate.
Right? I know everyone's like, oh my God, I'm going to be starving. I'm like, the only time that you really feel hungry, this is my personal opinion, is when you're on like day 1 of a 3-day fast, or you're in like the early morning of a 48-hour fast, and you start to get like those hunger pains. But once you get over like this hump, it's like you could fast, not that I'm wanting people to do this, but you could fast forever. Yeah. Because that all those hunger pains, because the hunger hormones dissipate, and you reset the way you think about food. You reset fasting, because I think that's fasting is like another F word, where people hear fasting, they're like, oh my God, you're going to stab yourself, you're going to die, this isn't healthy. And I'm like, if you really read the research, which, as you know, Kim and I are science geek nerds, and we always back up everything we do with science, like John Hopkins University studies, Harvard studies, like not like, Red Book fucking studies and Mary Claire studies. You know what I mean?
No, and that's one of the things that I liked about this too, is that you were giving us all the information as well. It wasn't that you were just saying, do this. It's like, we're doing this because here, watch this video, here, read this article. So you always gave us the information as to why we were doing it. Never that it was just do it because I said so.
I love that. I love that you get that. And I know you always have gotten that. That's why it's like people will say to me like, well, why are you having us eat this kind of meat? And why are you having us eat this kind of fat? And why are you having us eat this kind of vegetables? And then I'll be like, well, all these vegetables are very high in lectins and very high in oxalates, and they can cause a lot of inflammation. And I cite all the studies and all the videos. Same thing with the fasting. It's like, I am a nerd. I'm very scientific. And I'm also very woo-woo. Like, I'm very much a paradox in a lot of ways, where it's like there's the woo-woo side of me, like you're the same way. And then there's like that teacher educator side of me that's like, no, we need scientific, real facts. And like, I want doctors to back this up, and like the leading people in this industry. And when people do the actual work and they really watch the videos and they read the studies, and like, listen, you don't have to do any of that. You could just do it because you want to do it, and you don't care about the science and you don't care about the studies. But I am very much rooted in the scientific method of why we're doing what we're doing. And I love to back that up, because if people have a very scientific left-sided brain, they're going to be more apt to stick with the protocol over someone that's just like, this doesn't work. But I'm like, yeah, but look at all this research, and it's
Right.
about longevity. I mean, when we were doing A28P, I would have you guys post your face pictures when you first started. And then you'd post your face pictures at the end of the month.
Oh, yeah.
After the 20 days. You guys don't even look like the same humans.
Nope.
It's wild.
And it's almost like, Benjamin Button.
You're aging in reverse.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And think about it. If your face and body show that reversal of aging and that longevity, can you imagine when you give yourself 28 days of this protocol, what's actually happening to you on a cellular level?
100%.
Like that's the shit that I'm like, oh my God. And not only a cellular level, like with the epigenetics, meaning like, your biology and like what's been passed down from your ancestry. Like, cause people will say to me like, well, diabetes just runs in my family. I'm like, yeah, maybe type 1, but type 2 is a metabolic disease. And and after 28 days on this program, you will not have it anymore. And I've proven that time and time again. Same thing with, we've had girls, actually one of your girls who had PCOS, no more PCOS, one of your buddies for A28P, like no more PCOS, no more medication. Like that's the shit that really like excites me. And I know that you didn't have a lot of that. You didn't have a lot of that stuff. You didn't have autoimmune. You didn't have those problems, but when you started releasing the weight off your physical body, didn't you feel like there was a direct correlation with like how spiritually and energetically and emotionally and mentally lightened you felt?
Yes. Yeah. Because it was not only with the food, because you were eating cleaner food, but then you had on top of that, you were doing the meditations and you were doing the journaling. So you were taking the weight off physically and also spiritually, because you're going through and you're taking off layers of things that you've held on to.
Absolutely.
I remember doing yoga one morning with John, and I did something and I looked at him. One of your yoga videos. Yeah. And I turned around to him and I said something that I'd been holding on to since I was a child. And I was like, I just realized now. And I'm like, so I was 39 when I started doing this. So it's, I'm not old, but I'm not a spring chicken, but it's like going through all this process. It's like lightening you up because you're realizing all these different things that are coming up and out of your body.
Yes. And that's another reason why I created A28P the way I did. It's like, okay, we are going to get your body to be the healthiest, best version of itself. And you're going to break addiction with food. You're going to break any kind of sickness, illness, and disease. Now, some people, as you know, right, because you did A28P a couple of times, a lot of people have like 150 pounds to release. So they're not going to do that in a month, No. In October, I had one of the girls who's actually coming on the podcast in a couple of weeks. She, I think, released 37 pounds in 1 month.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, like, that's wild, right? But it's so doable. And like, I tell people that in the wellness industry and they're like, that's bullshit. You're lying to me. And I'm like, I swear to God on my grandmother's soul, like I have pictures. I have like the actual physical, measurements and stuff like that. And then for you to tell me like, I released this thing that I hadn't thought about since childhood. I didn't even think it was a problem anymore. I hear those stories all the time where, every morning I give the girls shadow work in A28P, as you remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all this journaling stuff. And I can't begin to tell you, and I know you've also experienced it, like how many people are like, oh my God, like I didn't even think I had this problem anymore. Or I forgot this thing that happened to me during childhood that like I haven't thought about since I was 4 years old. And all of these things come up during this protocol so that you can let it bubble up to the surface and you can heal it.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
That's bravery and that's courage.
Yeah, absolutely.
No wonder why people are scared doing this protocol.
And that's not even what they're scared of. But then all of a sudden they realize that it's more than just what's on the paper.
Right. So how many times did you do A28P before you like gave it a rest for a little while? Do you remember?
I did full version twice because I didn't do the third time I did it. I didn't do the 72s.
Yes, I remember that. Well, you had gotten really tiny.
Yes.
And I was like, Theresa, maybe let's not do that.
Well, when we had actually had a lot of discussion about that. And there were some people that had reached out to me and like worried about me. And we had talked about like getting to a point and then after that, building back up again.
Yes.
With muscle and with tone and with our food as well. And so that's exactly what I did. And I was more in tune with my cues for eating, as far as like, am I just eating because I'm bored? Am I eating because I'm stressed out? Am I eating because I'm really hungry? So those were, even now, like I'll still, when I notice when I'm stressed out with the kids, I'll either go for a snack or I'll go and I'll be really short with them instead. And they have nothing to do with it. Like if I get a work email or something, I'm more short with them rather than dealing with it. And I have to heal from that and work through that before I address them, because those are the things that can really throw me off.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's another reason why I designed this program, is like triggers are going to come up even more, because when you're not eating like your normal standard American diet, which most people in westernized civilization eats, right? And you're like, fuck, I actually have to feel the feelings that I'm feeling and I can't drown it with alcohol and food. Fuck, this is a lot. But when you don't have that crutch to fall onto, it opens so many doors for you. Don't you agree?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because then you have to like, and it's true. You have to sit with your emotions. You have to figure it out. And a lot of people don't have those tools on how to do that.
No, they were never taught. I want to backtrack for a second, because you said something very poignant. You said that when you were doing A28P, you started and you were about 150 pounds. You were, a year from postpartum, and you started doing A28P. You did 2 rounds, and people started seeing you like on Instagram, on Facebook, like doing all your yoga and doing all your stuff. And you were very open about your journey, which I think is so commendable and beautiful, because I feel like when you just show up for other people to inspire them, like it's just good karmic shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when you were bearing yourself and you were showing yourself like doing this big change, you actually said that people were reaching out to you saying like, "Are you okay, Theresa? You're looking a little thin. You're looking a little like." Can you talk to that? Because I know that one of the rules of the top 10 rules of A28P is don't listen to the negative, judgmental, do nothings, fuck faces, naysayers. So can you touch upon that a little bit? Because I think that's one of the biggest fears of people is fear of criticism. And I know that you and I are so much alike in that, like, we just hate when people like talk shit to us and like tell us we're not, what are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. Like, it's very triggering because it's the perfectionism, badness in us.
And the wanting to be liked by everyone.
Oh,
yeah.
God, tell me more, Theresa. Tell me more. Can you touch upon that? Like how that was difficult for you? I remember at the time you saying to me, "Oh, so-and-so reached out to me and said this to me." And I was like, tell her to go fuck herself.
Yeah. I had friends, acquaintances and family members all like comment on like, "Are you okay? You're too thin," this and that. Someone even said, "Go eat a cupcake." And I'm like,
oh my God, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
But if you were eating a cupcake, no one would say shit.
Right.
Because that's socially acceptable to just eat and do whatever the fuck you want and be unhealthy. That's okay.
It's that whole thing we were going back to way back at the beginning of the podcast when I said, you have no idea of the journey that people are on and what they're struggling with, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, any of that. And we had tons of conversations about my weight and where I was going and what I was doing. And people would just send me a DM or call me and ask me what I was doing for certain things. And am I being healthy and eating it? Or not eating and any of that. And it was like, I got very defensive in a couple of cases. Then talking to them, and I was like, well, if I had 2 cheeseburgers, you wouldn't bat an eye. But if I don't have either, you're upset with me. So I figured out how to a couple of people were like, "Do you need help?" And I was like, "Nope, I am perfectly fine.
Never been better, bitch. Never been better.
I feel great. I am in contact with people, with my coach, and we're working out things for me. And I know exactly what I'm getting into. It's an honest fear, I guess, for people to reach out and make sure that people are okay, especially at that time during COVID. Like a lot of people were going through some things, but I felt I went through more things after COVID, and because I looked okay and because I looked like I felt okay, nobody reached out to find out if I was doing okay.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
when I wasn't doing okay.
Yeah.
So
Same. Me too.
Yeah.
Like when we were both doing this, A28P, when the pandemic first started, you and I thought we were doing the most, and we were doing the most. And then when everyone went back to quote unquote normal, that's when you and I really were like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yep. Yeah.
It was like the opposite. So when you actually needed people to reach out to you and love on you and be concerned, they were nowhere to be found.
Nowhere.
But when you were working out and fasting and doing all your spiritual practices and really trying to become a better person for not just yourself, but your family, then it was a problem.
Right.
Which I think don't you think that holds so many people back, Theresa, for oh, I want to do this thing, but I'm afraid of what my husband will say, or my children will say, or my friends will say, or colleagues, or even just fucking strangers on the internet.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because if a lot of people, some things I'll do in quiet now because I don't want to hear what other people have to say.
And that makes me sad because you are such an inspirational person. And I know that there are far more people that watch what you do and are inspired. And I feel like a lot of these people, I hate to say it, Theresa, but I'm real and raw with you because you're one of my closest people in my life. A lot of these people are just fucking haters and they're just jealous of you. I hate to say it. I mean, we know a lot of people that went to high school with us that are like, oh, Theresa, me, and her and you. I know someone talks to my mom all the time and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sick of Theresa and Katie. They're just up each other's asses. It's why? Because we actually have a real friendship where we actually really care about each other, unlike you, bitch, who have no real friends and are just still trying to live your high school lives. We're not going to name names.
No.
We're not blowing up anyone's spot here on the Ambitchious podcast, but bitch, you know who you are.
You live your life and be happy, and we'll be happy with our lives.
But exactly. But it makes me sad that you do hold back and you admit that. And I do it in a lot of ways too. I feel like recently I've tried to kind of hold back how I really felt and what I was really doing. Because for me, I think it was more I just can't handle it right now, the energy. But but then I have to think about myself and you too is God put us here for such a huge mission and purpose. So to hold ourselves back from being motivational and inspirational to people that really need that's where I feel, I'm speaking for myself, I feel like I'm slapping my creator in the face.
Right.
Do you feel sometimes that? Oh man, why do I feel this way? I wish I could share more. I don't where are you at with that?
I do. I feel like I should be sharing more of my journey. And there are times when I'll do something and then I'll share after I go through it. Because even, I mean, that in the summer, my mom ended up having a triple bypass and so I had gone through all that and didn't share a lot of it until after she came out on the other end and being okay. So during that time, it was hard because I didn't want to, it's my mom's privacy as well to go through all that and to go through my feeling, but then sharing it afterwards was helpful to me. And a lot of times now with things that I'm doing, I'm working on in quiet. And then it's here's what I did. Here's what I've been doing for the month.
Yes.
So,
I
try to do it on the back end if I can't do it in the front end.
Yeah, I totally agree. But just know from me to you, you're so inspirational. I don't want you to not share because you don't realize how many people's lives that you're touching, even though they might not say to you every day, Theresa, you're helping me. You give me strength and things like that. We're more, and I just think this is human nature. We focus on the one fuck face that says some bullshit to us instead of the thousands of people that are oh my God, I did this because you inspired me.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's hard, dude. I know you so well that I'm just shaking my head. Yeah, I get it. I totally understand. It is difficult. So other than, let's backtrack for a second. So you did the 2 rounds of A28P and you started around 150 pounds. What did you end up after the 2 rounds of A28P? Do you remember where you were at with your body fat and your physical body?
I believe I was down to about 125.
Damn, girl. Shit.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where I was.
And you're shredded.
Yeah.
I was damn, you need to go do a fucking fitness competition, bitch.
Because then you started introducing us to the primal movements as well as the yoga. So I was doing a lot of your yoga, my own yoga, and then getting into the primal movements.
Yes.
And that's actually when I started doing my running as well. So getting all very physical.
Yes.
Because for me, again, talking about the things that moms need, I need to be physical. I need to sweat and feel like I have accomplished something. I can't just go out for a walk and feel yes, I've gotten my steps in. I need to sweat to be panting. I need to, and that makes me feel like I've actually done something.
You're
and
so.
Yeah, that's I really am.
You're a sick fuck. I'm like sweating. Ew, please no.
But that's what I feel like that helps me to release a lot.
I was just going to actually say like the movement. So I always say motion creates emotion. So if you have a lot of shit going on, like you're the type of person you're like, if I'm not feeling so fresh, I want to get on that fucking treadmill and I want to bang out the 6 miles or whatever, because I know that like my head's going to be clear by the end of this. But that's not how you started. You weren't running when I first started working with you. Nope. You weren't doing yoga every day.
I wasn't doing anything.
Right. So it was definitely like a build. I don't want people to think like, oh, Theresa was just this running maniac. No, you were not. You were like not moving at all. And then now it's like you inspire so many people to run. I mean, not me.
No, but Matt,
my husband, like he runs every day now, and I'm like, you psychopath. And he's like, I got a beat, because he has your thing on our Peloton. He has your old Peloton when you stayed over my house that night, and he tries to beat your Peloton. And I'm like, that's so fucking awesome. Like, that's why I'm saying you don't realize like how many people that you inspire and that you touch, because we're so focused on other bullshit.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
I was going to say, I started, you had the yoga videos for the A28P, and it was the same. You did 4 of them, so you have to do one per week. So I started with that, and it was maybe 25 minutes.
They were quick. They weren't they weren't 90-minute Bikram sessions where you're like standing on your head.
And they weren't all out like, vinyasa flow. They were like, here, get into this pose, try to get into this pose, try to do this.
Yes.
And and you explained why you were having us do these poses to go along with the chakras and opening up and everything, which was great. So that got me going. And then it had me researching more and more, because I really liked the way it made me feel. And just opening up that way, that's where I started. And then I remember, because we started in January, did January A28, went into February, and I had gone away during February vacation.
That's right.
And they had a gym at the hotel. So I remember doing some things down there, doing some workouts, and then just looking at the treadmill going, maybe. And so I ran just for a minute.
Wow.
Literally just a minute. And just doing things like that. That's where I got my movement in.
That's
and
awesome.
Then it built up from there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So let's go down the 6 life makers. I want to talk about what came out of it from you doing A28P. So let's just start at the very beginning, which is your spiritual connection, your divine connection, your non-negotiable spiritual practices. So what were your spiritual practices before you started doing A28P? And what are the ones that you have hung on to and adopted and still do to this day?
So before 28P was basically praying whenever I needed something.
You're a good Catholic girl, just like me, bitch. It's like, God, I promise that if you give me this thing, I won't swear anymore.
Yep. Oh yeah. Or, I would do my rosary beads at church, because I do go to church. So
we
that
love
was
to squeeze the beads. You and I
yes.
love the beads. We love to squeeze the beads. Yes.
So, and then after, it was actually a little bit before learning how to meditate. I would do some meditations, but with A28P was doing the inner child healing. So that, because we had to do that for the full 28 days.
Yes.
So I really enjoyed doing that. And I would do that either in the morning or in the evening time, wherever I could fit it in, and just going through the process and knowing what I could bring to the table, seeing myself as a child, and it didn't even have to be a child. It could have been the previous week,
10 days
something
ago.
happening. Yeah, exactly. And so I have continued with my meditation journey. I actually am in the process this month of I created a meditation journal, and I'm doing my meditation journal this month. So it's a week's long of meditation with 7 journal entries that go along with it.
That's awesome.
So
that is so freaking. You're gonna have to set. I have to look at your bio, but I want to put the link up for everyone to get that on the podcast once it drops, because I think that just especially for moms, it's gonna like be a game changer. So
yeah,
in A28P now, when you look at it, I think you're gonna be really astounded where every week there's a different playlist. So every week is a different meditation, a different sound healing, a different breath works, different affirmations, different journal work, different shadow work. Like it's week by week. So the old A28P, we used to do like just inner child healing every day for a month. But this A28P is every week, everything changes. So it's totally different. You're going to love it. You're going to really, really love it. So then what about like your boundaries and like your hell's yeses and hell's no and your core desired feelings? Let's talk about those things. What has changed with your boundaries, your core desired feelings and all that?
So my boundaries, I've gotten better at saying no to things because I was always a yes man. And I have said no to so many things. With work, there is a certain time that I will not do anything after like a certain time in the day. I do not do any more work because my work
just go all fucking day.
Yeah, I would check my emails whenever. I would send an email whenever, make a phone call, do grading, things like that. Whenever during the day, whenever I could fit it in. But now when I'm home with my kids, I'm home with my kids. And they're where my attention is.
And very intentional with that. I know that you are. You're amazing with that.
I try my best. Yeah, I keep going. Cause I mean, like we all kind of fall flat on our face here and there. And then, that's the only way you can level up again.
Well, that's the recalibration. Like I always say, sometimes you have to bring the arrow back to shoot it forth. And like, I think that we all think like, I'm going to go on this spiritual journey and like, I'm just going to go up and up and up and up and up and up and forever and ever. Amen. And it's like, there are days where I am like a rock star. And the next day I wake up and I'm a bag of shit. And I know you're the exact same.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. And that's why like, it's when you're saying like, what's your hell yeses? It's my hell yes is me, my feelings first, my family, being able to, be home and spend time with them. So therefore my hell no's are anything that doesn't serve my purpose, anything that doesn't align with me being authentic to who I am. There's nothing of, working on weekends and during the summer, like those are no-goes for me.
Yeah, that's it. And before that was not the way it was.
I would work year round. I would go into school on Saturdays or at nighttime. I mean, nope. That's out of my boundaries now.
That is freaking so amazing. What about your core desired feelings? Do you know them now off the top of your head, the ones that you particularly have right now?
Yes. Creative, authentic, purposeful, and ease.
I love that. So what Theresa's saying, and this is something that I teach in Ambitchious in A28P, is you have to know how you want to feel. And I also talk about this in my book. And you want to take those words and then you want to make decisions around those words. So like for my number one is freedom. So every decision I make, I say, is this going to help me feel free? And if it doesn't, I'm not doing it. And I know like, with yours, the ease thing is like, we both come from a background where we like to really make things complicated. Because when things are complicated, they're like more worthy and they're more important and nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm that mindset of, well, I'm a mom and it's nighttime. I shouldn't be sitting on the couch I could be folding laundry. I could be making dinner. And that's nowhere, like, that's why I should be at ease. When I'm sitting on the couch, I should be at ease. I shouldn't be thinking of what's to come.
Yes.
So that has been a huge game changer for me. And also, but when I'm doing something, is it purposeful? Like I want to have a purpose why I'm doing this. I'm not just doing busy work.
Oh, I love this. This makes my nostrils flare. I love this shit. And now what about your health and wellness? Where are you at physically and with your wellness and right at this moment after doing A28P twice and then you've been around for a while. So you've really leveled up physically.
Yeah. I mean, because even after A28P, you went into the lifestyle.
Yes,
protocol.
The lifestyle protocol, which is like, this is what to do when you're just in a maintenance mode and how to like keep yourself in that without going too off the rails.
Right. And then we talked about then you've even posted stuff about the blood type diet and then working around the menstrual cycle and working on where you are in your 28-day cycle.
Yes.
So I feel for my health and wellness, I feel really good. I constantly try to make sure that I'm eating healthy meals, whether it's just at night, whether I'm doing a one meal a day, whether I'm eating throughout the day. I always have healthy food. I mean, granted, I have kids, so I'll have snacks in the house too, and I'll indulge in those. But for the most part, my diet, I've really worked on that, making sure that I have a lot of the A28
anti-inflammatory type food and all that. Yeah. Enough protein, enough fat.
my greens and my vegetables are always biggest on my plate, making sure I have my fats, my butter, my oil on it, having a good solid protein with my meal. So that way I'm not hungry. I'm not just, throwing a piece of bread in my mouth and saying like, that's a meal.
Yes.
I want to make sure I'm satiated with the right things so that I'm not hungry later.
Yeah. I love that. And you're working out all the time.
Yes.
And we can get into this when we get into the whole like business money mindset stuff, but you actually you loved yoga so much that you are now a certified yoga instructor.
Yes.
No big deal.
I decided even before COVID, I was trying to see if I could somehow get my work to pay for it. And then we went into lockdown and I found an online version of it and I just went through it and I did it. I'd love to be able to go do one in person now and just kind of build on my hours and be more more certified, for lack of better terms.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoy it. I do it. I've done it on the app. I have some videos up on the app, which I would love to be able to do some more.
Oh, anytime. The girls would love that.
Yeah. And I know like Kelly had said that she's done, she was doing them all week, 1 week. And I love the feeling that I know what I can do to make my body feel better if I need that certain movement or that certain pose, just to release some things. Like if I'm stressed, I can go downstairs and just do like a little flow sun salutation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know exactly how to balance myself. So that's been super helpful. And I've had people reach out and say like, I'm having sciatic problems. What can I do? What are some poses?
Right.
So that's
awesome.
been, I'm glad that I can help people that way as well.
Yeah. And you didn't have any of that before you started doing this protocol. So like, It's really, you fell in love with it and you were like, I'm going to do this. And I was like, damn, go for it. I'm all about that. What about your relationships, like with your family and your children and your husband and like, your immediate family, like your mom, dad, your sister, like how have those relationships bettered and how have you become better in this whole process with like maybe, letting shit go more easy and just looking at the people like I do, like, oh man, like we're all just walking each other home. We're all just like big kids that are we just grew bigger in our physical bodies, but we're all still these wounded children, even if we are like, a 75-year-old man. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think my biggest thing that I've taken away from all of this is it's more about them than it is about me. And, it's not going to be my way. And even though it's the results I think would be the best, I can't push it on them. They have to want that. They have to see that. And if they can't, then I have to be okay with it. And I have to accept what they're going through. Sometimes it's very hard to say that or to let that go. And without me, adding a little chirp of what I feel needs to be done. But my dad last year asked me he asked me about meditation and I was like a kid in a candy shop and I was trying not to show it. Like my brain was like, it's happening. He's asking.
Yes.
But I just told him what has helped for me and I didn't make him do it. Cause normally I would just shove it down his throat and say, here's some meditations. This is what you should do.
Yeah.
And I just let him know. And, he asked. He's got that. And I told him, I said, it's just sitting there and, even thinking about your body. And he said he's done it a few times but it's not consistent, but that's okay. Like that's okay. He'll get to where he needs to be, but it's definitely the release of my feelings compared to what they're doing.
Yes, that's such huge growth. And also with your children too. Like I know, like before you would act a certain way with your kids and now you're just like, hell no, I'm not doing that anymore. Like it's not serving me. It's not serving my children and it's not going to serve them when they're older either. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know there's a lot of amazing moms out there in Ambitchious land that are like, how will this help my relationship with my children?
Well, to start off, what a lot of people were like, how did you fast around your kids? And
yes.
I try not to make it a physical, either beauty or weight or any of that stuff with them. So when I talked about fasting with my kids, I talked about cleansing my body and seeing, like clearing things to see what is affecting my body. So when I bring things back into my diet, is it affecting me? And they always joke and they're like, well, Mom, we know that dairy doesn't really go well with you because you seem to smell after you have like ice cream and things. And
yes.
Like, thank you very much. Intolerance. Yes. Thank you very much, children, for pointing that out.
But you know what though, Theresa? Honestly, I have so many women that come to me and they were like, I eat cheese and yogurt and all these things all the time, blah, blah, blah. And then they cut it out because on A28P, we get rid of, and I'm not against milk products or anything like that. I actually think that they can be really healthy for you if you choose the right ones. But unless you're cutting something out and then introducing it back in, you don't know what's actually causing you these physical issues. So like if you eat cheese all the time and you just fart, right? And you're just a smelly bitch. Like you're like, is it the pasta that I had? Is it the, the dairy that I had? Is it this thing? Is it that thing? So when we're doing an A28P meal plan, we really eat the most therapeutic foods that cause the least amount of sensitivities and reactions and histamines and all these different things. Obviously, if people do A28P, we can get more into that. But if you never cut the dairy out, you wouldn't even have known that it hurts your belly sometimes, even though it's damn delicious.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes I just suffer through it and make them suffer through it too.
Yeah, you're like, pull my finger, bitch. You want a cup of cheese?
But yeah, so even like that was, they're funny too, because one time Louise was like, well, this isn't, I don't know, my stomach doesn't feel well. Maybe I should fast. And I was like, well, you're still a little young yet. Like you don't need to fast. We'll do some other things to figure that out. And right now that's not it, but they are like, when can I fast?
Isn't that interesting?
So they got really into it. But even that, like I said, I'm open with them about that. And also like makeup, things like that. It's not, I don't want to say I'm putting on makeup to look beautiful or to feel good about myself. No, I'm putting on makeup because I like to experiment. I like to do different things. I like to try things out. And, Lily actually was like, well, when can I get on a call with Victoria Duke to find out
hilarious,
to do some makeup stuff? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll work that out.
Well, because in A28P now we have self-care nights. So like Amanda Greco will come on and do facials with the girls. Victoria Duke will come on and do makeup tutorials with the girls. And it's really about, Amanda and Victoria both really talk about like it's inner and outer beauty. And it is not for other people. It's for ourselves. And that's where we have to kind of shift that paradigm and that narrative where like, I'm not putting on makeup and doing all these things to make other people think I'm attractive. I'm doing it because it just makes me feel good.
One of the things that Victoria said at Bitchapalooza that I loved was that, like, how often do you get to take that time to touch your face and caress your face when you're putting on the makeup and love yourself that way? And I took that away. So every time in the morning when I do my skincare and at night, and when I'm putting on my makeup, I think about that all the time because now I'm thinking about me for that 10 minutes of putting on my makeup.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important. And what about like your environment? So like, is your environment at school different now that you've done A28P? Is your home environment different? Like, can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I try to clear a lot of things out of the way. Actually, this morning, I just took some time to make sure I put all the kids' stuff away. And I try to have a way to set up my room so that way it's at school and at home. So school is, I try to make it comfortable for me, which if it's comfortable for me, it's comfortable for my students. And I've actually had a couple of students come to me and say, I feel really comfortable in this room. I feel like it's not like it's cut and dry and everything's in a square box. It's, I have some of myself in that room, which therefore lightens it up.
Yes.
At home, I try to, I've added some of Ginny's feng shui stuff, putting the crystal by my door and thinking of like where things are positioned and keeping things open for the flow of everything in my house. So that's definitely, those things are helpful. And that's all in the app too. Like all those interviews are in the app.
Yeah. So those just got released today. All of the interviews with Ginny, who is my feng shui master, who did a lot of tutorials in Ambitchious Academy. All that's available on the app. And we also have an Project Light, which I talk a lot about in the book. We have a Project Light challenge in A28P and also just in the app in general, where if you're like, shit, my house is a fucking mess. And every time I come home, I want to rip my hair out. Kim and I have created Project Light, so it's daily little things every day that aren't going to take a whole day of your time. Maybe it will take 15, 20 minutes tops, but like, it's like, do these little things. And then by the end of the 28 days, like your whole house is in order, it's organized. And I'm a big proponent of like, if your home and your environment is cluttered, then your mind is cluttered, and you're probably not going to be able to be the ambitious woman that God put you here to be.
Right.
So I love that you like took a lot of the ambitious academy stuff from like Ginny and just the essentialism things and the Project Light stuff, and you really started like really honing in on how you want to feel in your environment and space. That's huge. That's
because even this weekend, my husband and I went through and we're like, okay, all these clothes need to go and be donated. All these books that nobody's using, we're going to go and donate. So we've done a lot of, even this weekend, just cleared out a lot of stuff that we're like, okay, we're not using this. Let someone else use it. We have a lot of those little library posts, the free libraries.
Yep.
So we stuck some books in there so other people can be able to use those books.
That's awesome. And just little things like that, they add up, especially at the end of 28 days. Like you do a little something every day for 28 days in every aspect of the 6 life makers, which is what I created A28P to be. And it changes your whole entire world. Now, this is one I really love, which is your financial money mindset and business. So talk about like, obviously everyone knows here that you are an amazing music teacher and you have been for a really long time, but being part of A28P and part of the Ambitchious community and watching all these other creators and coaches and instructors and educators that are working in a different realm of reality than you are used to every day going to school and teaching. Talk a little bit about how you created little intentions from it and all the things that have come out from really stepping into your power and knowing your definiteness of purpose.
So it all started like on a whim just for my kids. I was making something to create for them to actually utilize and move things for creating intentions for the day. So it was just like a little magnetic board with little magnets to like, what do you hope to do for the day? And they helped me design them. And from there, it was like, well, I need to help children to be more intentional. And then that developed into, no, before I can help the children be more intentional, I need to help the moms be more intentional. So therefore the kids can get that from their moms, because it really starts with the mom. And it starts with me for them, so that what they see with what I'm doing, that it transfers to them. I mean, the other day, Lily was having a rough day and she was just upset. And, I was trying to ask her to do her homework and she just melted down. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go for a run, like on the treadmill. Why don't you join me on the elliptical? And then of course, Henry was like, well, I'm going to do it and I'm going to run on the treadmill first. So I said, fine. He got on the treadmill. Lily took a little bit more time. And then I was doing some workouts and we were talking and she just couldn't get past that energy. She just was so upset. And then I was like, all right, I'm jumping on the treadmill. You jump on the elliptical with me. And she got on the elliptical and she just moved her body. And I was like, see this. And she just felt so much better. And I was like, just move your body. Like it'll help. Like, so I'm trying to set the example for them. So I know if I can set the example for my kids, then other moms can set the example for their children.
Absolutely.
And it's no matter what the example is, it's going to come across. If you do it for yourself, then you'll get to the children to do it.
100%. So can people buy your boards? Because I know you were making them for a while and I know people were actually purchasing them. Can people buy those little intentions boards and do it at home with their children?
That will be coming up this year.
Nice.
Later on the year. So what I am working with my Calirian cycle. And I am in a creation year. So
we also talk about that in Ambitchious, guys.
Yes.
People are like, Caliri, what the hell? Well, we have done a podcast on it, but there's a lot of education in here, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I am in a creative year, which is I'm just busy creating a lot of things. Like I have a lot of things that are coming in my app, not in my app, sorry, in Instagram and in my emails that I have. Like, so if you're a member of my emails, you actually received the meditation journal to do it along with me in March. In February, I did a self-care for February. And for April, I'm going to be doing some affirmations.
Yes.
And so later on in the year, I will be having more access to my boards to be selling those.
Because I know people ask me about it all the time. Like, does Theresa sell those boards? I'm like, Ask her, bitch.
Yes, I have some of them. I have to create more of them. And I actually have a few that I've created for moms as well.
That's awesome.
So that way they can manipulate and do for themselves as well.
And all of this, with your company, Little Intentions, with the meditations that you're doing, the yoga, all the affirmations, how you're showing up, this all really came out of your evolution with what you did with A28P and how you gave yourself that time to grow and put in the work for yourself.
Oh yeah. If I hadn't been connected to myself energetically and spiritually, this never would have happened.
I love that.
I never would have gotten to this point. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Aw, anytime, man. So that's why I'm here, man. That's why I'm here. Do you have any advice for moms who are like maybe on the fence about doing something like this for themselves?
I mean, just start. You don't have to start big. It doesn't have to be big. It can be something small that you're changing in your daily life. It can be 5 minutes a day. That's it. When I started this, it was, I took the weekend to go away with you, but then every day after that, it was a 10-minute meditation that I just found on YouTube. It wasn't anything big or exciting. It was just, I found just a YouTube meditation, 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Like I said, it doesn't have to be anything big. There are 10-minute yoga videos that you can find. Right. There's something, whatever is drawn to you. I mean, being outside in nature and walking for 5 minutes, whatever you feel like you can do that's going to make you a better you. That's where to start.
Yeah. And do it messy, because you're like the queen of that. You're like, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm just going to do it. And like, I will figure it out. And I'm the same way as you, where, I come into so much contact with so many people who want me to coach them. And they're like, but I have to get everything perfect. And I'm like, no, fucking just do it. I don't care if it's on a Wednesday, a Saturday, a Sunday. You have half the things created. Like, just put it out there, because I really do believe, and both of us are God-loving ladies, and I believe that when we make a demonstration and a flex to God, God is going to go ahead and do like 10 times the amount of work for us that we did for him.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's like I said, if they join my email list, they can get the affirmation stuff for next month. I'm still putting out the meditation journal every week. So if they want to do it later on, they don't have to do it for the whole month of March. They can still have access to it. And right now, as an email member, they're getting everything for free because I'm still in creation mode.
Right.
So
I love that. You're such an inspiration to moms all around the world. And thank you for being on here for the second time. The first time was drunken and hilarious. And now it's like more serious, but I like the softer side of Sears with us, because I think that we do have a lot to say. And you have such an amazing experience with being a mom to 3 children and working full time and creating a business on the side, and all the things that you do on a daily basis, and all the healing that you're doing, and working on all the things in Ambitchious, what we call the 6 life makers. And it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage and just a lot of determination. So I'm really proud of you, and I'm grateful to call you a friend, and I'm just grateful that you're part of the Ambitchious community. And if you guys do join the app, you will be able to experience everything that Theresa just spoke about. Plus, you'll be able to experience Theresa, because like she said, she is in there doing yoga videos. You do a lot of inspirational, motivational videos with the girls in there as well. And you're such an amazing person to reach out to on the app as well, because I know you speak a lot of victory into the ladies that are in the community. So I'm grateful, and I thank you for that.
Yes. And I mean, I have met so many great people through the app as well. And I thank you for creating this community, because even I've known people for 3 years, and then I finally got to meet them at Bitchapalooza in January that I would have never ever known in my life. And it's created such a nice community that I can reach out to these people, and we could go months without talking. Not that we do, but we can go months without talking and then catch back up exactly where we left off, which is very nice.
That's huge. Theresa, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for taking time out of your busy life to be here. I love you. You're my soul sister, and I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I love you too.
Thank you. You guys, you just heard this amazing testimonial from Theresa. She has totally changed her life. And so if you are ready to step into all of your power, don't walk. You better run, because Theresa's the runner. So she's inspiring us to also run. Not me, but everybody else. Don't walk, run over to the app. The link is in the show notes. And I will also link all of Theresa's information in the show notes so you can follow her on Instagram and on Facebook, and also become part of her Little Intentions community, because it's just so juicy. There's just so much free stuff, and I can't wait for you guys to be able to buy her products when they're ready, like the Little Intentions board. And I'm just so excited for everything. So I will see you all over on the Ambitchious app. And in the meantime, don't forget to stay ambitious, and I will see you next Tuesday.